Once upon a time, deep within a vast and ancient forest, there lived a mighty elephant named Bhanu. He was no ordinary elephant. His strength was unmatched, and his tusks gleamed like ivory towers beneath the sun. Bhanu was the ruler of the forest, and wherever he walked, the ground trembled beneath his feet. The animals of the forest stepped aside, either in reverence or fear. But Bhanu was not a kind ruler. He believed that strength was all that mattered, and with his great power, he demanded obedience. He would knock over trees without care, scare smaller animals away from waterholes, and thunder through the forest without any regard for others. He saw himself as the king and believed that fear was the only way to command respect. The animals of the forest grew resentful. They whispered about Bhanu's tyranny, wishing for the peaceful days before he claimed control of the forest. Yet none dared challenge him, for Bhanu was simply too strong. One day, as Bhanu made his way to the river, he came upon a strange sight. A small, old man sitting quietly beneath a large banyan tree. The man was a sage known for his wisdom, with long white hair and eyes that had seen many years. He sat still, seemingly meditating, and did not move as Bhanu approached. The elephant snorted, unimpressed. "You sit in my path, old man," Bhanu thundered, his voice rumbling like a distant storm. "Move, or I will trample you." The sage slowly opened his eyes and looked up at Bhanu, completely unafraid. His voice was soft but calm. "Why do you walk through the forest with such anger, mighty one?" Bhanu was taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him like this. "I am the king of this forest," Bhanu replied. "I go where I please, and no one can stop me." The sage gave a small smile. "Indeed, you are strong, but what do you gain from your strength? What do you gain from the fear and destruction you leave behind?" Bhanu frowned. "I gain respect," he said, though now his voice wavered slightly. "The animals fear me, and through their fear, they respect my power." The sage nodded, but his eyes remained fixed on Bhanu's. Respect born of fear is not true respect. When your time in this world is past, will the forest remember you for your strength or for the peace you brought to it? Bhanu was silent, unsure how to respond. No one had ever questioned his rule before, but now he felt a flicker of doubt in his heart. The sage stood up slowly, his frail body dwarfed by Bhanu's towering form. True strength, Bhanu, does not lie in power alone. It lies in compassion, wisdom, and the care for all creatures, great and small. Walk with me, and I will show you the path of a true leader. Reluctantly, Bhanu agreed, and for the first time in his life, he chose to listen. Together, the sage and the elephant walked through the forest. The sage moved slowly, pausing often to observe the smallest details, the way the leaves rustled in the wind, the ants marching in a line, and the gentle flow of a stream. Bhanu grew impatient. "Why do you stop for such small, insignificant things?" he asked. The sage smiled gently. "These small things are just as important as the great ones. You may be the largest and strongest in the forest, but every creature, no matter how small, has a role to play." They continued walking until they reached a clearing where a rabbit, a deer, and a squirrel were gathered by a drying waterhole. The animals were thirsty, but none of them drank. Bhanu watched in confusion. "Why do they not drink?" he asked. "The water is almost gone," the sage replied. "They fear that if they drink too much, there will be nothing left for the others." Bhanu watched in silence as the animals took turns, each drinking just enough to survive, but never more than their share. It was a simple act of kindness, but it struck Bhanu deeply. He had never considered the needs of others. He had always taken what he wanted, never thinking about how it affected the rest of the forest. The sage turned to Bhanu with a knowing look. "You have the power to take everything you want, but true strength lies in knowing when to take and when to give. A true leader ensures that all have what they need, not just himself." Bhanu felt a wave of shame wash over him. For so long he had ruled through fear, never thinking about the needs of those around him. But now he realized that his strength had brought only fear, not respect. The next day, Bhanu returned to the river. As he approached, the animals scattered as they always did. But this time, Bhanu stopped and waited. Slowly, the animals began to return, watching him cautiously. "I will not take more than I need," Bhanu said, his voice calm and gentle. "You may drink first. I will wait." The animals, unsure of his intentions, approached the river hesitantly, but as the days passed, they began to trust him. Bhanu no longer knocked down trees or scared animals away. He walked through the forest with care, mindful of the small creatures who shared the land with him. Word spread throughout the forest that Bhanu, the once tyrannical king, had changed. He was still strong, but now his strength was used to protect and care for the forest. He helped the smaller animals, cleared paths after storms, and ensured that everyone had enough to drink and eat. One afternoon, as Bhanu rested beneath the same banyan tree where he had met the sage, he felt a deep sense of peace. The forest no longer trembled at his approach. Instead, it thrived under his gentle leadership. The sage reappeared, smiling warmly at Bhanu. "You have learned well, mighty Bhanu," the sage said. "You now understand what it means to be truly strong." Bhanu bowed his head in gratitude. "I see now that true strength is not in taking what I want, but in giving to others," the sage nodded. "And for that, you are truly the king of this forest." From that day on, Bhanu was no longer feared, but respected and loved by all the animals in the forest. He had learned that true strength lay not in his power, but in his compassion. Under his watch, the forest flourished like never before. Thanks for listening to the story. Hope you liked it.